office, and that's steep in
All right,
controversy.
pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Operation of the permanent extended-
Thank you.
There's talk of there possibly being 21 gun salute, a
Okay,
color of a
seating of
one person that won't be there, even though there are a lot of people invited.
alternates. So
Vice President Pence, his office confirmed tonight that he is going to get
all right, so all right, so I think we need the seat as of right now too. Definitely one for Harlan.
President Trump did not take questions
I
or
didn't hear if Wayne.
leaves office. President Trump leaves
Nobody said they couldn't make it, so I'm not sure if people are running a couple minutes late or not, but I know we do need to see someone for Harlan.
office. He'll see so that
I'll nominate that we seat Audrey for Harlan.
and finally to you.
I second.
Tomorrow's gonna change hands.
All right, so I think it was Mark and Tim. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Right. All right. You know, so we do have, for the people that are not in attendance right now, so if you can,
Of many of the Biden appointees,
Richard,
some cabinet officials could be confirmed as soon as.
or either Sandy or
We don't
Wayne.
Judy, tonight, the leaders of the Republican and Democratic Party in the Senate.
Hey, Tim, I think you got your TV on. We can hear the.
How is sharing the
All
All right, thank you. Let me turn it off. I'm so sorry. That's better. Thank you, Mark.
No problem.
Okay, so I need a motion to see another alternate.
We have one.
Oh, guess I was distracted. All right,
Oh, Dick's an alternate, right?
yes.
Okay, so we make a motion to seat Dick for Wayne.
This is
Second.
Mark, I second that.
Oh, sorry.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right. Approval of the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
This is Dave, I'll second.
Any discussion?
That looks good.
All right. Good. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, public communications. I think we sent around the December tax report. I think that was attached to the agenda, so nothing too exciting there. I think I sent out, I lost track, our status report of where we are is in tax collections as of December 31. So that slipped a little bit from 63.5% to the 62.9. We don't really have any current data. The current January is the big month, so once we get to the end of this month, I can get the data from the tax collector and I can send the report out even ahead of the meeting, because I think January 31 gives us a good perspective. I did through email just talk to the tax collector briefly, and we got about 2 million in, which is through today. But most of it comes in end of the month, so it's not really a good gauge. Her gut was that same as last year, no concerns at this point, but they said we'll know when we get to the end of the month. But she didn't have any, didn't feel like things were slower or any different than the previous year. So, last, just for perspective, just because the numbers, again, we're about 1 million, about 2 million, and we normally collect, last year we collected 8.5. So that doesn't look like it sounds good, but again, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that's gonna show up end of the month. So we will revisit this. As I said, as soon as I can get the information, I will send out what January looks like so everybody has a good perspective on where we're at with this. Any questions on that?
Yeah, Joe, are you just referring to the revenue or you're looking at the expenses as well as you're looking at this particular part of the meeting?
That was just looking at tax collection specifically, not even all revenue. So I'm going to jump to revenue now, the revenue report. And I'll point out a couple things I don't know that I see, and then we can talk about that, or if anyone else has any questions. But I'm just focusing on that one revenue. So, and that's just really the current year levy tax. So looking at the revenue report. So motor vehicle supplement, if you're looking at it, we budget $250,000 and we've collected 78. That's pretty good because they're not due to January 1. So we got almost $80,000 in ahead of it actually being due. Prior year taxes, we budgeted 200 and we're about 188. So we're doing a little better on that than anticipated. We're still on interest, but again, a lot of that's going to come in February and March, or some of the payments in January. So again, looking at this at January 31 is going to give us a real good idea of how the rest of the year is going to shape up. On the positive side, it's real estate conveyance tax is about 10 grand over budget. So building and then recording fees are still down, which is different than most of my clients, but the conveyance tax is up. So there's some, unfortunately, I mean, some people moving out of town, but that's a positive. And of course, interest is down, which again, that kind of was expected. We cut that budget significantly, but we're still only a quarter of the way through half the year gone. So those are the quick observations as far as what revenue looks like. Again, ECS is still the really biggest number, outside tax collections, and that we won't get that until March. Going through.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
All right.
Quick question from the state of Connecticut. Are we getting money to help with the elections?
Yes, there was a grant, and Bob might remember the number. It was like $2,000 or $4,000 that we got an award letter. I don't know if we got the money, but
that would show up when we get it. That would show up under state of Connecticut. We'd have a category to track that, or where does that go?
Well, we'll take a look, because I did circle on here the $69,000 in miscellaneous. I'm not sure what's in that number, so we may have received it, but I'm going to ask for the detail on the $69,000 because it's just in miscellaneous, which I prefer that we do what you're asking, just set up a line so we can see the revenue.
Okay, thank you.
Bob, do you have any comments or insight?
Yeah, we've gotten about, if I remember the numbers right, 85,000 in COVID grants, or COVID reimbursement, I should say.
Okay.
But I'm not sure where that has been recorded.
Okay.
And I also don't think that includes the FEMA portion that we put in for and has been granted. So.
Okay. So maybe that's a miscellaneous. I'll get some detail from the finance department on that, and then we'll have some specific numbers for next time, what's in this and the timing of what's been received. FEMA is definitely a slower pay. OPM started pushing out the money a little faster. Okay, so that was comments on revenue. The expenditure report, most of the lines that are overspent were overspent last month. So no real change there. The one line that is new this month is the transfer station site improvements. So I didn't have a chance to ask what that was, and again, on Bob, I'll just see if you have any idea about what that was, but it's over with the encumbrance, so it's not actually overspent, but it's over a little bit if you take into account the $1,100 encumbrance. So last year we only spent about 1,000. Now it's about 6,000 and another 1,100 encumbered. So I'm assuming they had to do something down at the site. So I'm not sure if that's something that you're aware of, or I can ask finance to.
Yeah, I'll check on that. I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
Okay.
And in that same category, Joe, the transfer station salaries, we're already at about 76% of the entire year's budget, about halfway through. So it looks like we're spending at a higher rate than budgeted.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there?
I don't know if that's normal. I don't know if that's normal. Some expenses, of course, you incur at different times of the year, but I would think transfer station would be consistent throughout the year.
I know some of that is overtime caused by coverage. Someone calls in sick, you've got to fill it with an overtime position, but I'm not sure about the total.
Okay. All right. Well, we can look at that, and we might want to common to separate overtime so we can get some perspective on that. So we might want to create that line so we can see what's going on, at least number wise, if that's what's driving it.
And I also know from last year, some of the transfer station salary was recorded on public works salary. So we had to adjust the budget, and it may just be we missed the adjustment and should have been higher in transfer. So
Right. Well, that'll drop out when we glue together the 22, because we can kind of put together an actual schedule so we can see, and we'll see how it lines up. But I think you're right. There was a little bit last year, like you said, so it could have just carried over to this year. But we'll have a better handle on it outside the overtime in the 22 budget.
Notwithstanding other comments, for whatever it's worth, I find it easy, and I think Mark, actually, you were the one who does this on your own, and you taught me this. Is I took another column to the right of the sheets you sent and ran a percentage of total. So it helps me understand where, if we are 50% through the year, where we are on spend relative to where we are, and I understand clearly, because Bob has made it clear to me that sometimes we are accurate in our accounting for spend to date, and sometimes we're not. But there are a couple of things that I think are positives here, and I just love to make sure that I'm not losing my mind and saying this is a good thing given we're in a challenging year. So, for example, on page 1, it would appear to me that there's $8,000, 400 and change in election monies that I don't think we have another election. So that's a good thing. That's money we can hopefully offset the remainders of budgets that may be off or on. That one seems pretty straightforward. That's right.
Well, there's wages.
We have the school budget referendum in May, so that'll fall in this fiscal year.
Oh, and election money goes towards that.
yes.
Yeah.
Right, and there's wages in there too, about $5,000. So that's probably not a real number to say we're done with that.
Okay, my bad. Because I was looking for good news here in the spirit of, I think it all seems amazing that we're in a COVID world, that this is pretty good. But I mean, there were like the fire department looks pretty good to me on both, whether you look at Haddam or Haddam Neck. And I don't know if maybe that's just a function of monies haven't been accounted for yet, but those numbers look pretty good because we're at 27% for Haddam and 26% for Haddam Neck relative to what the budgets for the year were. And the same thing could be said for emergency. And again, what I'm really pointing up is I'm looking for a positive that says, wow, we could actually do okay this year, or better in terms of monies for capital expenditures or whatever we want to do with the excess. It looks good to me, and I'm just wondering whether there are things that are naive to me, how I look at this data that says, okay, you don't know what you're talking about, Tim. Public Works looks low to me, and that's a good thing. I don't know why we're not doing more money on the roads. Maybe it's a function of the spring to come, but that looks pretty good in terms of relative numbers. Thank God we've had a mild winter so far, so snow and ice look pretty good. It's 4% of what we were expecting. I just don't know if that's all, like, we should feel good about that, or it's just we just haven't accounted for it all yet.
Well, I think it's a combination. Snow and ice obviously is easy to know that we're in a good position there. So some of the stuff with the fire department, the incentive plan, that's in there. That's not spent yet. So I think in general, again, last year in most towns and most Board of Eds too were underspent just because of the COVID restrictions. We didn't really reduce any of our expenditure projections due to COVID. We looked at revenue side, but we didn't really look at the expenditure side. So hopefully a lot of what you're saying does materialize, but is spending going to go up if things change? But so every budget's a little bit more, that has different variables in there of what's driving it. So again, the incentive plan is not showing expense, so the fire departments look good, but when that's a year-end type of accrual, so that will go that way. You look at state police, they just don't bill us, so it looks like we're doing good, but so it's kind of a mix, so it's hard to look at, but and I don't remember specific numbers, say for conferences or travel or those type of things. Most communities are saving money on that because those type of things are just not happening. But will they happen the last quarter? I guess we'll find out. And again, those are not big dollars in our budgets, but that's where some of the savings do show up. But there are savings a little bit in senior center, such as the van driver. That's way down because there's not as much. So there's definitely some accounts that are going to be good, but it's still kind of early to outside the snow and ice and those type of things. But like you said, that could be reprogrammed and to do a few roads before June 30. So.
And my comments are only, Joe, because it feels good to me as opposed to bad to me. I think it's great that we are looking like we are underspending against where we're at, given we're in the fiscal year, notwithstanding a couple of things where, like the police and stuff like that gets billed in one lump sum at some point. But some of the ones that are more variable seem pretty good.
Yep. No, I mean, I didn't see anything jumping out. There's just a couple things that I pointed out, that circumstances, but they're not big dollars, and it looks like those budgets can absorb some of that because of savings in other areas. Yeah, nothing on the expenditure side looks scary right now. So that's definitely a good thing.
That is great.
Yeah, this is Bob. I would say my analysis of where we are, both revenue and expenditures, I'm comfortable. I'm not resting easy. Still too much to see, but we're not in the dire straits that I was afraid we might be in, given what COVID was doing to everything. So.
Not a big.
All right. So those were my comments on that. Any questions or comments on those reports?
Just one quick comment. It looks like we had some internet show up on this senior services category that we're not using anymore. This 410 senior services. I think we merged all of that stuff into other categories. So this might have just been coded wrong when it was entered.
Yeah, I did ask about that one thing today, the whole $600. And so that it should be up in social services where the rest of the senior center is. There wasn't a line for it, so I think someone just charged it there. But so it projected out, that's half a year, that it would be $1,200. So I did ask Linda just to set up a line because we didn't really have a line in the budget. So I feel like either internet was combined or somehow it was coming from a different source. But that did start in July of this year. So we do what I have Linda working on that to put it up into social services where it belongs.
Did we merge, I can't remember, maybe you remember, did we merge telephones and internet into 310 public buildings?
It did move most of the stuff, utility type related. Yeah, that's true. So that's probably where that should go. So we don't really need a separate line. So 310, yeah, there's telephone and internet line there. So
I thought we consolidated a lot of that into one bucket.
right, just so if there's pluses and minuses. Okay, so I'll have Linda move that to where the rest of it is instead of setting up a separate line. So I knew there was a reason it wasn't in the budget anymore. It wasn't in the individual budgets, but thanks for remembering that. Okay. Anyone else have any questions or comments or do the budget? All right, Bob, what else is going on?
I think I pretty much, in my last comment on the budget doesn't scare me yet and the revenue doesn't scare me yet, sums up my report. Still trying to get a finance director, haven't had any luck yet. In fact, Joanne and I are going to talk about it tomorrow, so Joanne, you just got a heads up. Other than that, really not much has changed since the December report. We've gotten most of the budget requests back in. I know I've still got some outstanding. I'm going to take a first cut at it, and hopefully by toward the middle of next or end of next week, we can start having Board of Selectmen meetings to review them. So.
Okay.
Well done.
All right. Any old business? Well, I don't know if we've ever had any old business. But any new business besides what we talked about? Hearing none. Public comment? But no public, no one from the public? Okay. All right. Item 10, who's going to make the call?
I recommend we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it.
All right, great. Thanks, everyone. Our next meeting will be in February, and we'll hopefully get rolling on the budget after the regular meeting.
Happy
Have
New
a
Year.
lovely week, all.
Have a good week, everybody. Thanks.